guys can see, I have given birth. Um, Crazy thing is, let me tell y'all about labor and delivery. So, my due date wasn't until mid January, anywhere from the 14th to the 21st was my due date. So, we were scheduled to go on family vacation December 23rd through the 28th. So, on the 23rd, I went to meet my family at the vacation house. So we get to the vacation house. Well, before I even get to the vacation house, y'all, I took my kids to um, Five Below to get some toys and stuff for the vacation house because they hadn't obviously opened their Christmas stuff yet. So we go to Five Below, and I started feeling like minor Braxton Hicks in Five Below, and I wasn't paying it any, attention because this is baby number 5, and I'm like, I know what Braxton Hicks feel like. Well, we get to the vacation house and I'm hanging out with my mom, my sister, and we're all like laughing, dancing, listening to music, us, the kids, everybody. Around like 9 o'clock, the dancing brought on real contractions. Now, I'm one of those people, I don't like to go to labor and delivery just to be discharged, and they say, oh no, it's not, you're not an active labor, right? So I'm like, I'm going to stay home and kind of just breathe through it, so to speak. So I tell my mom I'm going to get in the shower. I had already gotten my kids pretty much together at that point, so I go take me a shower. And I tell my sister, I'm like, hey, I might need you to take me to the hospital. I was like, the contractions have not slowed down, and hot water pretty much takes away like all the pain most of the time. So that didn't work. So my sister takes me to the hospital. The hospital near the vacation house didn't have a labor and delivery ward because apparently they were just building it. It was like a newer hospital. So they tell me we're going to get you transferred over to the main hospital, which would have been the one that I was going to give birth at anyway. No worries. But it takes the ambulance about 45 minutes to get to the hospital. Again, the hospital is a new build, so they haven't had, many contracts or anything like that. So they're calling around to see what private company can come and get me. And they come get me. They take me to my hospital. I get to my hospital. My hospital's like, hey, what brings you in? I'm like, contractions, whatever. My sister drives my car and follows behind me in the ambulance. So they're like, okay, well, we're going to take you into triage and we're going to check you first. So they put me on the monitor, so they can see, how far apart your contractions are and things like that. So obviously they were, pretty consistent at that point. At the first hospital, when they checked me, they said that I was a 2. I get over to the other hospital, which is about a good 15-minute ride from the first one. But again, we had to wait about an hour for the ambulance. So once I get to the hospital I was delivering at, I was at a 4. So I went from a 2 to a 4 in about maybe an hour and 15 minutes, give or take. So once we made it over to triage, I don't know if my body realized like this is the place we're supposed to be, because at that point, things sped up. They tell me, we see you contracting. We're going to go ahead and move you over to, what's it called? The actual birthing room. So we go to the birthing room. Once we get to the birthing room, they're like, Mom, we're going to go ahead, hook you up to the monitors again, check the baby's heart rate, all that good stuff. Have you had any complications this pregnancy? Things like that. I'm like, well, I've had, been watched for preeclampsia and all this other stuff. So they're like, okay, cool. I tell them I'm starting to feel pain. They're like, okay, we're going to do some blood work and then we can have an epidural brought down. At this point, I wanted an epidural. I had spent the entire previous week getting ready for Christmas, and for the family vacation, I did not give my body any time to rest. So I was beat. And again, I hadn't taken a nap because I had the kids at Five Below and all this other stuff. So I never got a chance to actually just relax. So there was that. So I went ahead and let them do the blood work, all that good stuff. And they tell me, well, we're going to check you because I'm yelling, I'm in pain, and they can't really check me because of the way I'm laying. So she's like, I can't really tell what you are. I'm like, okay, no worries. They're like, we're going to call the anesthesiologist in here anyway. As she's getting me prepped, like, you have to sit and kind of like ball up or whatever. As she's getting me prepped, I'm yelling like I'm feeling pain. At this point, I got to the first hospital at 11:30. When I made it to the hospital I was delivering at, it was about 1 a.m. So at this point, I'm like, listen, I'm really not feeling it. I'm feeling pain. Y'all got me balled up to do an epidural, but I'm feeling a lot of pain, down below. So they're like, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and get the epidural for you so that, it can relieve the pain. And I'm like, nope, this pain is like he's on his way type of pain. So they're like, okay, mommy, we have the needle in your back. We have to remove the needle. So she hasn't gotten a chance to even push the medication because she hasn't even put the, the thin catheter in. She's only put the needle in to prep to put the catheter. So I'm like, well, we're going to have to, change plans because this is not going to work. As she pulls the needle out, she's like, okay, let me take off all of it's like a sterile field, like, when they put the brown medication on your back to kind of sterilize it and everything. She's like, well, we have to take all this off you first. And then you can, shift the way you're laying or whatever. So she takes it off and I go ahead to lay down. As soon as I lay down, or before I even get a chance to lay down, I'm sorry, my water breaks on the nurse who's holding me for me to get the epidural. So she's like, oh my gosh, y'all, her water just broke. She's like, y'all need to get the doctor in here, because at that point it was 2 nurses and the anesthesiologist, but not my actual doctor or OB. So they're like, mommy, your water just broke. Go ahead, lay back. So I lay back. By the time I lay back, they're lowering the bed back to, like a safe point or whatever. As soon as I lay on my back, he slides right out. The nurse actually caught him, because if the nurse wasn't standing there, he'd probably hit the floor. The doctor was walking in as the nurse was like lifting him up and was like, oh my God, he just came out. So it was kind of funny because I wasn't able to get the medication, even though I was screaming for it. I pretty much did it again for the second time, unmedicated. Now, the first 3, I got the medication. The last 2, I did not. And seeing how it felt with the last 2, I feel like the first 3 I could have definitely done without the medication. I think it kind of sucked. But the first one, I was in labor for 11 hours. So, probably not. But with him, from the time I got to the hospital at 11:30, the original hospital, to the time I gave birth, he was born at 3:04 in the morning. So I did not have much time from transfer from hospital to hospital and then from room to room. I really never had time to actually sit and really go through the pain too long, because I was being wheeled here or pushed there or gurneyed here or gurneyed there. So, I was constantly moving. And I think that also played a role. And then when she had me sit up straight to get that epidural, I think that kind of helped with his flow of like, yep, I'm just going to go ahead and come down. And yeah, y'all, so I ended up going into labor and delivering in about 3.5 hours. And he was early. I learned after delivering, my placenta was too small, so they sent it to pathology, I think that's what they said, and tested it and all that good stuff, because he was 19 inches, so he was long, but he was only 4 pounds, 8 ounces. So he was tiny, but he was super long. And my placenta was really small. So they ended up telling me that I had IUGR, which is intrauterine growth restriction. So if y'all see my previous vlog, I went to the to get an ultrasound because my doctor was saying that I was measuring really small, or that he was measuring small for where I was as far as gestation. So I probably would have been diagnosed with IUGR at that point if I would have made it to my follow-up appointment. I only did my ultrasound, and my follow-up appointment was actually scheduled for the 28th. I just ended up having him on the 24th. So they diagnosed me postpartum with IUGR, and my OB basically was like, hey, if you would have made it to your appointment, we probably would have went ahead and scheduled you anyway for an induction to go ahead and deliver him, because at that point, he wasn't really getting much weight. He was just growing lengthwise, but weight-wise, he wasn't growing. And I was eating, as much as I should have, but he just was not gaining the weight as he should have. Yeah. Ooh, my bad, y'all. So he has finished eating. Sorry, I was breastfeeding the entire time. But where did I leave off? Yeah, so he was small. So after I had him, they came in to, constantly check my bleeding, my vitals, things like that. Everything was good for me. For him, they had to do sugar tests because he passed his first one and his second one, but then failed his third one. So they told me he had to pass another 3 before he could leave the hospital, because I believe in the first 24 hours he used to get his blood drawn like every 2 hours or something, and he has to pass at least 80% of them. So he ended up passing all of them. He passed his cardio exam. He had like a car seat where they wanted to check his car seat. He passed that. He did have to go under the like baby heater a few times. He's laying on his arm, y'all. I promise I'm supporting his neck. He's just laying on his arm, and it has his head looking like it's further back than what it should be. But yeah, he had to go under the heater a few times because he could not keep his temperature regulated. So he did go under the heater about 15 minutes after I gave birth, and then when he was maybe about 6 or 7 hours old, he went under there as well. And he only stayed under there for like 15 minutes, and then he was good after that point. And they pretty much said that, you know, sugars and body temperature like regulation is really difficult sometimes for the smaller babies, because like I said, he was little and he was born, I mean, I did have IUGR, so he was little, and he was also born early. So, you know, there was that. Only other issue we had was jaundice with him, which if you can see how bright my room is, I actually have my windows open. So it was for him to get some little sunlight for his jaundice. But that was really it, y'all. Other than that, everything else was pretty much fine. I only stayed in the hospital for 24 hours. Well, yeah, pretty much 24 hours, because I got there at 11:30 on the 23rd. I gave birth Christmas Eve at 3:04 in the morning, and I was released Christmas Day around like 4 p.m. So a little over 24 hours is how long I actually stayed in the hospital. And then I got to come home and actually spend time with just the baby and my husband, because my big kids were with my mom, them still at the vacation house. So I didn't get them back until like the 27th or something like that. So it did give me like some free time to kind of come home, sleep, recover a little bit before having all the kids together. So yeah, you guys, that was pretty much my little birthing experience. And here is Bub, my little stinker. Hey, Bubba. We have done his his newborn appointment already. He did lose a little bit of weight leaving the hospital, which is quite normal. So he went down to 4 pounds 5 ounces, but we have a follow-up to recheck his jaundice and his weight. But I think we should be fine after that. So yeah, you guys, that was my birthing experience. I'm probably gonna record another video right behind this one, which is me getting this room together, because it is a mess, y'all. I will admit, I've been running around a little bit through the house, but you know, just running around still nonetheless. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get this taken care of. But this is where I will end this vlog, you guys, and I will catch you in the next one.